Okay, this is going to be a bit of a different video as I want to go through all of the games and it just take too long to edit. So we are just going to go straight live. So I want to go through all of the Sweet 16 games being Tennessee, Texas, Kansas State, USC, Notre Dame, TCU, and Oklahoma and UConn. I'll just give bullet points on what stood out to me in those games, and then we will preview LSU versus UCLA as well as preview South Carolina versus Duke. Before we start, as always, if you enjoyed the content, then please consider subscribing to the channel and giving the video a like. All right, let's get into this. This will be different. Now, I figure we should just go in order of the games and how they occurred. It seems so long ago, 4 o'clock this morning actually, that Notre Dame and TCU played. What stuck out to me looking at this game through one eye while I was trying to stay awake was just the half-court game, that the pick and roll of Haley Van Lith and Prince, and just overall, they could run a half-court game, and Notre Dame was just totally dependent on getting steals, getting that transition game, and that was such a big factor. When they couldn't get into that, they were really stymied in the fourth quarter as TCU was able to cut down on their turnovers. First, to the winning locker room, what stands out is TCU is just a good, well-balanced team and experience. So not only Haley Van Lith gets the headlines, and deservedly so. She runs the pick and roll. If they need a bucket, they go to her. But the 1-2 punch between her and Prince is devastating. But they also have Madison Connor. They got Donovan Hunter from Oregon State, who can take some of the ball handling responsibilities off Haley Van Lith at times, and Emma Nopu. So with all of those players, just good experience, and they're well coached. Campbell was calling the plays, and just they controlled the game. It was a smart, experienced team that controlled that game. I don't know about you, but just coming down the stretch, I just felt so much more, had more faith in TCU and that they were going to control that game coming down the stretch. It almost felt a little bit like Notre Dame was panicking and they didn't know who to go to or take the shot. Hidalgo was doing all she could not to force the shot. At the same time, somebody had to do something, and it just wasn't there for them. Now, their big three did not shoot well, so Westbelt was 3 for 9 for 7 points. Hannah Hidalgo was inefficient, 3 for 19 for 15 points, and Miles as well, 3 for 10 for 10 points, and Citron 4 for 15 for 9 points. And that inefficiency is what got them when you consider Prince for TCU was 5 of 10 for 21 points. Connor was 2 of 4 for 13 points. Emma Nopu was 2 of 3 for 7 points. And Haley Van Lith, she went for 26 points on 10 of 21 shooting. So if you shoot more efficient, you're going to win the game, essentially. I'm looking at the box score right now, and they're showing Haley Van Lith celebrating with her TCU teammates. It was definitely, she's gotten back what she lost last year at LSU. This has been a good showcase for her to let everybody know that she's still a good player if you have a system that fits her style of play. She was just miscast at LSU. In the Notre Dame press conference, they essentially they put it down to, we didn't make shots in the game, and that's why we lost. But it's interesting, these press conferences, they really don't ask the uncomfortable questions, which I understand because the college kids are there and they don't want to feel like they're going after the college kids. But even after they left, nobody really asked Niele Ivey the question that probably should have been asked of, you had Citron Westbelt and Olivia Miles for 3 years or 4 years, or 3 years, I guess, because Miles was out for 1 year, and you have Hannah Hidalgo, and you haven't been able to get past the Sweet 16. Have you underachieved? That would be the question that probably should be asked, as uncomfortable as it is. And she takes a big hit on this. So I did that video under who's under pressure. Prior to the tournament, Haley Van Lith has reclaimed her status, I would say, just through this run, regardless of what she does versus Texas, where Niele Ivey's going to go start hearing questions. Can she get past the Sweet 16? Because this team, I think You tell me. I would say if you've got Hidalgo, Miles, and Citron and Westbelt, who was injured and came back late, I think you got to make it to an Elite Eight. It's very alarming how they sort of fell off at the end of the year. The same thing happened last year, but they did go against a good Oregon State last year. If you are a defender of Ivy, your defense would be Westvelt's injury. It was always going to be a difficult task putting Miles and Hannah Hidalgo together. She did a good job of that. And really, in the tournament, it comes to matchups, and TCU was always a bad matchup for Notre Dame because their guards match up well against each other. That was a dream matchup for TCU, especially because they had confidence from beating them in the Thanksgiving tournament as well. The final wash up from this game will be, will Olivia Miles go into the WNBA draft or not? She said after the game that she's leaning that way, but she could sleep on it and decide that she's returning to Notre Dame. It had all the feel in the press conference that this was done and over, and that the three of them sort of rode together and they were going to ride off into the sunset together. So I suspect she'll go, but to be determined. We'll find out in a few days. The next game, Tennessee at Texas, or Tennessee and Texas, not at Texas. Tennessee, Texas. Texas won 67-59. It was a good game. It was close in the fourth quarter, and Texas just wore them down. The other thing was Tennessee couldn't make shots. So when I look at the stat sheet, what did they shoot? Tennessee was 37% from the floor and only 19% from the three-point line. They almost got outshot three-pointers to Texas. So Tennessee took 26 three-pointers and made 5. To Texas took 7 three-pointers and made 3. And that, if Tennessee was going to win this game, they had to make shots. They didn't do that. I thought Vic made a good adjustment during the game using the freshman Preston. That helped limit their turnovers. So the turnover battle, I think Texas actually won the turnover battle. Let's look. Total turnover. So Texas had 14 to Tennessee's 18. It came down to the end. Just in the fourth quarter, I thought Texas better executed. But overall, in the post game, I think in the fourth quarter when they did the interview, you could tell that Vic Schaefer was pissed off with his team, that he didn't think they were playing hard enough and just controlling. He thought they were being out physicaled, which he can't stand, and out hustled. But they came good, made enough shots to win, and they're on their way to the Elite Eight. I thought Kim Caldwell, she was happy to make the Sweet 16. Obviously disappointed, but grateful to her team. I thought she was good in the post game, and overall, if you're get out your crystal ball to see how this style of play will go in the long term. But it was definitely a successful first year for Tennessee and for her. She's taken them back to the Sweet 16. They're back in the top 25, and she has the number 1 recruiting class coming into Tennessee next year that play her style of play. So they have the 2 twins that love to pressure and shoot threes. So I think if you're a Tennessee fan, you felt you really bounced back this season. I think pretty much everybody. I think the Tennessee fans would be happy with the Danny White hire as it stands now. Now let's go on to UConn. So it was a tale of two halves. UConn struggled in the first half a little bit with making shots. And then, as Gino said in the post-game press conference, Oklahoma can score. They run a good offense, and UConn's defense kept them in the game. I think UConn was pleased. What were they down? I can't remember now, but I think it was either 4 or 6 points at halftime, and I think they would have been happy with that. And as Gino said in the postgame, we were getting good shots. It was just, you would feel the way we shoot. It was just a matter of time before they would start falling. But in the second quarter, it was a bit of a worry with their bigs. Brady, Strong, El Alfie, Brady was 0 for 2, Strong was 0 for 5, and Alfie was 0 for 2 as well. So that was 0 for 9 other bigs. But to their credit, the one thing the bigs did, which they had to do, was they rebounded. They did not get out rebounded or pounded on the boards by Oklahoma. Oklahoma, got 41 rebounds to UConn's 43. The other big thing, I thought KK Arnold had the initial impact when she came on the court. That was really big for UConn. Once again, she sort of changed the tempo, started causing turnovers, and then Ashlyn Shade. So UConn's bench really helped out in a big way. And then in the second half, UConn started hitting shots. Obviously, Paige Becker started hitting shots with her 40 burger. It was just ridiculous. And then once she got going, like I was looking at it, just Lobo kept on pointing out, what are they doing on pick and roll? Like they were going under picks with Paige Beckers, even though she was killing them, and they just had no answer because Beers was just a liability in the pick and roll. It was just they were dropping her coverage, and Paige was like, yeah, okay, let's run pick and roll from the elbow here, and I'll take a little elbow jumper every time. I think the one thing this game does show up is how well UConn is set up with their big three of Fudd, Strong, and Beckers. If one has an off night, the others can cover for them, and everybody just plays their role well because they didn't play well in the first half, but they still stayed in the game. And I'm sure South Carolina fans will come at me and say, hey, we didn't play well either, and we still got the win. I just have more confidence in UConn because I think they're more well balanced, where I still have questions about South Carolina's offense. The other thing I took away from this, if it is UCLA, if UConn makes it to the Final Four and it is UCLA, this will be a little bit of a game plan. I think how well will they try to keep Sarah Strong at times on Betts and getting Betts out in the pick and roll, and it'll be a case of, hey, yeah, we'll give you your two with Betts and swarm her and try to make her inefficient, but we're going to pick and roll you and hopefully have Sarah Strong punish you from the three-point line on pick and pops, although Strong struggled a bit with three-point shooting. I like that she kept on shooting. I like that Fudd remained aggressive and kept her head in the game. Like in previous years, I think Fudd, when her shot wasn't hitting, it would affect the rest of her game, but now her game is more well-rounded where she can make an impact on defense, and in that hesitation where she gets to the basket, she'll take it to the basket and is now finishing at the rim again. Before, in that Ohio State game, she couldn't finish at the rim. Like she was a shadow of herself, but you can see now she has her confidence when she's taking it to the basket. The last thing I'll finish up with on this game is in the press conference, nobody asked about Aubrey Griffin. That's what I want to know. Is Aubrey Griffin available? Were they saving her and not using her in this game? Because I thought she would get used in the second half. I thought it was a case of we don't want to use her in her first half, have her knee get sore. We're going to just have her play one half and not let the knee get cold. But no, they didn't do that. So I don't know if their plan was to save her for USC or to give her as much time as possible. But I do think at some stage she will be a key part for this team. And I want to know, is that knee getting better, or is it still swelling, or what is going on with it? I guess I really haven't spoke about Oklahoma very much. So with Oklahoma, I think their season was good. I think it was a good initial season going into the SEC. They had a lot of seniors, so 6 seniors, but I believe Peyton Verhulst, she can come back next year. So they'll have Verhulst with Regan Beers, with Aaliyah Chavez as well. So they should come back better. In this game, the thing that obviously stuck out was the defense. Like, there's no doubt Baranchek runs a great offense. Oklahoma can score, but that defense in the fourth really got tore up. Like, they really lost their place and got exposed on defense in that fourth quarter, which to get to the next level, that's the teams that play both ways and can put pressure on a team with defense. That really changes the game, and that's the real hole right now for Oklahoma. The other one as well, they need to tighten up the basketball. They just have a lot of turnovers, and some are just silly. Like there was one where threw it across the court. I don't know what they were thinking on the play, and Lobo was saying it. If you watch them a few games, they just have unexplainable turnovers a few times every game, and that's another area. You just cannot give those away because it allows the other team to go on a run. The last game was USC taking on Kansas State, and USC got it done 67-61. Yeah, it was a good game. I think the freshmen played well. So Avery Howell, she went. What did she go for? 18 points off 6 of 11 shooting. Kennedy Smith 7 of 14. She went from 19 points to 50% shooting. Kiki Arieffin struggled as well. Marshall 4 for 11 did pretty well. But Kiki Arieffin went for 7 points on 3 of 13 shooting. She struggled a bit with her mid-range jumper, but overall, just USC put pressure on them with their defense. I thought that's how they sort of won it. It was a tough matchup, in my opinion, for Kansas State because they dominate teams usually with Lee, and USC plays bigs well because they've got Arieffin, Marshall, as well as Akamwafu, and with that combination, they can just throw bodies at you. So it made it more of a struggle. And then they had Kennedy Smith that was able to match up at times on Sundell, who's really good. And yeah, I thought it was an unfortunate matchup for Kansas State. Like even with Juju's injury, I thought it was going to be a tough game for them. And USC playing without Juju are clearly inspired. I think it'll be a struggle versus UConn, as I said before, because UConn brings more offense to the table. Let's see, in the point guard debate, so yeah, Heckel got 24 minutes versus Samuel, so I think Gottlieb knows she needs to get more offense on board, and therefore going with Heckel, but that sort of hurts their defense a little bit, but she still gives them a bit of a spark. As I said, this doesn't have to be a bad thing that Juju, well, it's a bad thing Juju's injury, but you can see the players on USC are having to do more without Juju there. And in theory, when she comes back, not next year, I think she's gone for next year, but the following year, she will have a ready-made team ready to make a run. If she can fit back into that team, it'll be a little bit of an Olivia Miles fitting back into a really good team, which I thought Miles, even though Notre Dame went out, I thought overall Miles did a good job at doing that. And I think it'll be a real test of Juju. I think it'll be good for her overall if she can learn to play with a really good team. Everybody knows that she can play ISO ball and go for a lot of points, but to see her play with a really good team where they all can score, that would be interesting. I want to see how she goes with that. And then her and Smith on the perimeter playing defense will just lock up opponents, especially with Howell. They're just going to be so long. And in 3 years' time, well, in 2 years' time, they are going to be a very nasty team to play. Now let's do previews on these games. So with these, let me bring them up here. Going to be brief previews. So Duke, South Carolina. South Carolina is minus 8.5. I think that's about right. I call this a mirror game because these teams are very similar, I think, in the way they play. So they both play really, really good defense, try to get turnovers and get after you. And then offense at times, you never know where their points are coming. So it's a bit of a scary game. I think South Carolina has more players that can go off. Obviously, Full Wiley and Kitts and Fagan's due for a good game after the last game. So I think I would go South Carolina in this, but if Duke won it would not surprise me because, like I say, these teams are almost like looking at each other in the mirror. The other X factor in this game I could see would be Jaden Donovan. Does South Carolina punish her for not having much of an offense? Does that allow them to double off of her and really stymie up Duke's offense? Or on the other hand, does Donovan give Fagan and Kitts a lot of trouble on the inside with Fournier as well, switching in there as well? That'll be an interesting battle, the bigs on each other. Yeah, I think so. But it's hard to go wrong with the shooting that South Carolina has as well, with Tahina Pow and she didn't have Tessa Johnson's probably due for a good game, and Raven Johnson. Yeah, I think I'm talking myself into South Carolina, but I don't know if that's just a bit of bias because we've been told how good all year South Carolina is, and if I'm sort of Yeah, I would not put money on this game, that's for sure. LSU, UCLA. So UCLA is minus 5.5. This is obviously UCLA's redemption game for Corey Close. She really needs to win this game. I think she knows it as well. UCLA knows it, and it'll be fun to watch this game. How does UCLA or how does LSU play Lauren Betts without Angel Reese? Will they bring in Del Rosario? Who will be, or will they try to play her with just straight up Smith and see how long Smith can hold up for? The other question would be, would Wolfenbarger as well? Will Wolfenbarger get minutes and try to pull Betts out? Will they try to get Betts in pick and roll and things like that? I'm just curious to see how this game matches up. The other one, I want to see how effective Morrow is. So Morrow had a monster game, the last one, but I reckon that I think they'll put Dugliich on Morrow. Well, actually, I think Barker probably as well, and see if that link can give Morrow trouble. I want to see how Morrow responds to that, and if she's able to bully them or if their size gives them trouble. That'll be interesting to watch on that with that matchup. And then Flage, can she get her game back and be effective? As she hasn't had the great tournament like she had the year before, so she struggled obviously in the last game, going 1 for 8. I can't remember how many points she had, but she wasn't effective. And it wasn't a good game for her. So quite, yeah, I'm just looking forward to watching this game. So it all starts early for me. So I think Duke, South Carolina is going to be a 4 a.m. start for me, and then the LSU UCLA game is going to be a 6 o'clock. So yeah, I'm going to set my alarm clock. But I'm glad the games are early because I'll be able to watch them before I start work. After watching the video, I realized I didn't make a pick, so I guess I shouldn't be a coward. So, okay, I will go on the record. I'm going South Carolina to win and cover. I don't feel good about it. And yes, I'll go the upset. I will say LSU will get the win and obviously cover since they're a 5.5 underdog. I figure UCLA fans will kill me anyway when they win. Regardless, I might as well pick against them. So if LSU does win, I'll have the last laugh. Anyway, it should be fun. And to be fair, I like Corey Close in terms of how she treats the media and things like that. I don't have any grudges, and I know Bruin Vince watches my channel, or I don't know. I probably irritated him, but Pam and Eggs as well watches my channel, and I know they're diehard UCLA fans. So good luck to them. Anyway, enjoy the basketball, and as always, poison feedback. It's all welcome. Again, different style. Hope you don't mind, and talk to you next time.